Hi, I'm here on Country Pocket with Taylor Ashton, whose new album, The Romantic, made me made me feel quite a few feelings. Some of the songs are sweet, some of the songs are hilarious, but Taylor, I'm curious, which song on that album most describes your romantic life?
Um, that's an interesting question. I guess probably Pretenders, maybe. I mean, they all kind of they come from various times and various places in my life and are sort of different combinations of autobiographical and imagined or fictionalized or whatever. But certainly Pretenders, I think, encapsulates something about my belief that I think people who are in love need to support each other and and let each other be their own people while they're sort of creating a one out of the two type of thing, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and they also sort of have to be open and honest with each other in such a way that everyone else around them seems like they're just pretending because that emotional honesty isn't there.
Yeah, I guess that's part of where that kind of comes from, for sure. And I mean, at the same time, I think it is in an ideal world you are open and honest with your friends, and I think that's something that actually, even since writing that song, I've wanted to increasingly have that be a really big part of my social life and my support network. And so, a song is a song. It's not necessarily a whole handbook on how to live, but for sure, when you have that kind of trust and intimacy between people, it can make other interactions seem sort of shallow in comparison, for sure.
That was one of my favorite songs on the album, especially.
Thanks.
Especially the line, which I can't quite repeat in full, but where you talk about other guys having their crap together, and
yeah,
and it's like they probably don't. If I know anything about people, it's that they're better at looking like they have their crap together than they actually are at having their crap together.
Yeah, but I mean, so often that's how we feel. We look around at other people, and people present the most put together sides of themselves to the world, and you can kind of have that feeling. Yeah, so that line in the song is kind of acknowledging that reality that the people that you see around you, or the people that you see on the internet or whatever, that might seem to be really thriving in a way that looks kind of picture perfect or whatever. It's good to recognize, like, first of all, that it's probably a front, and that they have their own things that they're afraid of and that they're insecure about. But also, I think the other part of that is not just that that's an illusion about those people, but also that even if that is true about those people, that it's important that we that we're kind to ourselves, and we sort of even if someone is keeping like a better exercise regime than we are, or like seemingly like getting better at guitar, or like anything like that we still have to recognize your own strengths and to recognize the things that you are succeeding at in your life, and just to be kind to yourself.
All right. So using the magic of pre-recorded phone calls and the fact that I can put things together after this, the first song you heard today from Taylor Ashton, the one that opened up the show, was Pretenders, which I did not realize it would be until this conversation happened. The second song we're going to go to is If You Can Hear Me.
All right.
Because that one is, I think, you know, if I were hearing this, if I were hearing the romantic songs from someone who I have romantic feelings for, this would be the one that would make me just melt into a good place.
I love that.
There's a receiver in your heart of mine, and she can find comfort in your arms of hers. Oh, that's beautiful.
Thanks. I mean, it's that line. It's like, at least as far as I remember in writing that, it was kind of it was one of those things where, like, I was playing around with, I had that riff, that do that part kind of on guitar, and was singing random gibberish, and I think it's such a beautiful thing about language, the way that we can kind of take a phrase that we recognize, and if you switch out one of the words in like a recognizable phrase, it suddenly takes on this massively different meaning. And because it's something that sounds like something that you've heard before, but it's different, that sort of combination of the familiar and the new can just elicit this kind of, you know, emotional response. And like when I first sort of sang that line to myself, there's a receiver in your heart of mine. You know, it was kind of my brain just, it was almost like the way that, you know, like an autocomplete works with texting. You know, it's like you say one word and then your brain kind of is just like, well, here's another word that sounds like it comes after that. And that was a phrase that just sort of came complete, like, and I sort of sang it to myself as I was, you know, just, I'll sometimes just turn on voice memos and sing a bunch of gibberish so that I can go through it later to figure out if there was anything interesting that might have just sort of come to my mind. And that was one that sort of, even right as I sung it, I was like, I had that same reaction that you might, you know, hearing it, of like, whoa, that's cool. Yeah, the rest of the song kind of fell into place after that. But it was kind of a happy accident in a way.
So your songs, language is a huge factor. You have some great wordplay going on, especially, you know, a song about bringing someone straight back by having a straight back, about obsessing about posture after a breakup. You have We Speak in Tongues, which is actually not describing speaking at all, but something very romantic, to say the least. And no, I've never heard someone who has such clever wordplay going on basically come out and say, oh, all this starts as gibberish. It's like autocomplete.
Right. Oh. I mean, I definitely have like a, you know, I have, well, let me put it this way. There was a study that came out a few years ago that was saying that, you know, people who sort of obsessively make puns, that might be like a sign of brain damage, and several separate friends of mine emailed that to me. So just to give you a sense of like how my brain works, and I guess the kind of reputation I have amongst the people who spend time with me, I definitely have like a real it's kind of a compulsion of when I hear a sentence, like picking it apart for what all the double meanings might be, and what sort of potential wordplay there is. And that's something that, like, I find that really fun. And I try to watch it in terms of, like, sometimes I can kind of trick myself into thinking like, ooh, I have a really cool like play on words here. This is like, this can be the basis of a song. And of course, just having a play on words is not a good song. It's just a trick. And so for me, the balance is in, using those.
But in country and folk music, a nice play on words and the title is half the battle.
Yeah, and I just try to remember that it's only in the service of communicating the actual kind of emotional message of the song, and that it's not vice versa, So yeah, I really love that stuff, and it's the type of thing that really sticks in my mind, and I think it's like, I think because those are the things that your brain will sort of end up remembering, and it's like that can kind of be the thing that makes the rest of the emotional message kind of stick around too. So that's my hope anyway.
Yes, I like that. So let's play If You Can Hear Me, and we'll be right back.